United States to abandon remote Afghan bases. Combat outposts are often attacked by the Taliban, but difficult to defend. U.S. troops were strapping on their gear for a 3:30 a.m. patrol along Afghanistan's border of Pakistan when word came to stand down. Soldiers were hearing heavy radio chatter among insurgents of the Taliban, raising suspicions of a coming attack. Within 20 minutes, the shooting had started, continuing steadily for some 2 hours, while militants attacked tiny combat outpost Spera from 3 sides with small arms and rocket-propelled grenades. Troops from the 101st Airborne Division fought back with rifles, heavy machine guns, and grenade launchers until the insurgents faded away at dawn. The March 29th battle was typical of those at tiny bases known as combat outposts, or COPs, which are being reevaluated as more emphasis is being placed on using forces to defend population centers. Last week's withdrawal from the Korengal Valley, the scene of some of the war's most intense fighting, underscored the new policy and was tacit admission that maintaining remote, difficult-to-defend outposts was not the best use of resources. Still, the soldiers at Kop Spera, where it remains unclear if the post will be maintained or abandoned under the new policy, believe they play an important role in disrupting insurgent operations and cross-border infiltration in the eastern province of Khost. It's important for the local people. All my guys understand that, said First Sergeant Jason Skazmansky of Minnesota. Securing this area also secures the local people, and if we can bring stability into this area, we can start to work, hopefully, on the schools and the clinics that they're asking for. But the question would be, how long can American troops stay there? Or how much longer will they be there? Spera is a speck of a base, a collection of sandbags, tents, and plywood buildings, about half the size of a football field, surrounded by ramparts of mud brick, stone, and sand-filled barriers. A 20-minute helicopter flight from sprawling forward operating base Salerno, one of the largest U.S. installations in eastern Afghanistan. The outpost is regularly manned by one U.S. platoon of some 20 to 30 troops serving 10-week rotations, along with an Afghan National Army company, some 100 strong. Thrown up soon after the arrival of U.S. forces in 2001, the base commands a dry riverbed and rutted dirt road that lead into Pakistan, and the commercial center of Miran Shah, a major insurgent base in northwestern Pakistan, along with guarding the heights. Troops here run daily patrols and help train Afghan forces in everything from maintaining the weapons to setting ambushes. The Taliban, or insurgents, have long valued the cross-border mountain gap as a route for moving men and material. The chief operators in Khost are now believed to be the Al-Qaeda-linked Haqqani network. Operating almost entirely under cover of night, insurgents have launched an average of 2 to 3 attacks a week against the base, mainly with rockets and small arms fire, and mostly to little effect. Since the beginning of the year, Spera has suffered just one casualty, a soldier injured by shrapnel from a rocket-propelled grenade. The presence of the base along with units based in the more densely populated Afghan interior. Supposedly frustrates the Haqqani's networks, attempts to isolate Khost from the surrounding region and extend their reach to the capital, Kabul, the country's volatile south. You have to be able to disrupt enemy fighters from coming in and putting pressure on the population, said the overall commander of U.S. forces in Khost. The border of Pakistan is simply too long and porous to be policed in its entirety. The next best strategy is one of containment, he says. And while redeployments are being considered in some areas, any U.S. troops withdrawn would be replaced by Afghan border police units. It's key terrain, so it can't just displace from that and allow the enemy the freedom of movement. But again, the question is, or would be, how much longer can the United States stay in these remote bases? It's not going to be indefinite. Limited resources or plans to move troops away from remote outposts have long been in the works. They were hastened by an attack in October on Cap Keating, north of Khost, that left 8 American soldiers dead. A year before, 9 Americans were killed at another outpost near Wanat. Both posts were giving up, and insurgents trumpeted the U.S. pullbacks as a defeat, with their fighters showing videos swarming through the abandoned bases. We don't and never will have enough troops to control the entire country, said Command Sergeant Major Michael T. Hall. Away from questions over strategic value, outposts provide some other benefits, particularly in boosting Afghan security capabilities, the linchpin of the Pentagon's strategy to transfer responsibility to Afghan forces, so hopefully U.S. troops can go home someday. We're very clear on our mission, and we've gotten the message around to the Taliban that we're here, and we're not leaving, at least not at the present time. But again, how much longer can the United States stay in Afghanistan? And at what cost? And what exactly is there to win? Again, these are more signs of the end times transition days. Malachi, chapter 3, verse 10. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. And prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I would not open you the windows of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, but there shall not be room enough to receive it. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. 12. And all nations shall call you blessed, for you shall be a delightsome land, saith the Lord of hosts. And these are more signs